you would think sometimes she would get a little bit reckless, and she's the furthest thing from it. She'll mix in the takedown. She takes what's there, and when the kill shot opens up, she nails it and gets the opponent out of there.
Absolutely. That's the most impressive thing about Cyborg. She continues to improve. Here she is, in my opinion, the greatest female combat sports athlete on the planet, and she's continuing to learn. She's continuing to be a student. And yes, she is absolutely more patient. The one place where Lina Lansberg had a chance against Cyborg was in the clinch, and Cyborg was just so dominant there, not only offensively but defensively. Her ability to get those inside hooks and prevent those elbows from coming up and striking her was very impressive. She was the more dominant fighter in the clinch, and obviously from the outside is where she was most brutal, breaking Lina Lansberg's nose and just punishing her with shots. And I got to say, Lansberg impressed me with her toughness as well. There is not a lot of women out there in the world that can go more than 5 minutes with Cyborg. Cyborg was brutal. She was efficient. Despite that tough weight cut, she still had a lot of energy. She exploded when she needed to. She still has that fast twitch muscle, but she didn't show any signs that it was a tough weight cut. Obviously, it wasn't a 5-rounder or anything, but she was brutally efficient, man.
Yeah, Lansberg was pretty upset at the hotel in Brasilia after the fact. She was very gracious when we interviewed her inside the octagon, but I just think it's hard to be on the other side of that type of beating. But to your point, I think she's a mentally tough fighter. I think she's got a lot of skills in the stand-up game, and I think now at 135 pounds she'll be competitive with some of the women in the top 10. For Cyborg, as we spin this thing forward, Kenny, what do you think is next? And it's hard not to talk about the weight. And by the way, thanks to your boy Ryan Loco for tweeting a picture of you in the sauna at UFC 136. As everybody tries to distance themselves from that memory, it somehow keeps showing up in my timeline. So thank you for retweeting that on Saturday night. Dude, that picture, before we get back to Cyborg, is absurd.
It really is, dude. I look at that picture. I go, that's not me. That is not me. That is some dude just in a lot of pain, suffering right there. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I know what I'm capable of if I really put my mind to something. But both those weight cuts were brutal, and I could imagine what Cyborg was going through because she is not small. She is not small. And it's a female. It's a lot tougher for a female to cut weight. And but with the new weigh-in protocols, as Eve Edwards continually reminded me of in the pre- and post-fight shows, it is much better for them. I wish those weigh-in procedures were around when I was cutting weight down to 45. But yeah, and the process is much better. George Lockhart, he was working with me when I cut down to 45. It's a much easier process. He's much smarter, much more experienced than when he was around with me.
He's still horrified by 2011. We got off the bus and after the fight, and we're talking about weight cuts still after the fight, and he, he's like, why do I always get these brutal weight cuts? I don't think people realize when they have these conversations about some of the worst weight cuts in UFC history. My man Ken Flo right up there.
I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
I know. Well, right, and we're going to talk to John Cholish later in the program about a skydiving experience that he had recently that went the wrong way. And, when you talk about testing yourself, your mental toughness, your physical toughness, what type of suffering can you endure? I think for you, it's something that you'll always know that you were able to do something that, a lot of people just bail out and miss weight,
Yeah.
Michelle Prazeres missed weight this weekend, a lot of people just aren't willing to, cut those final pounds. And in terms of Cris Cyborg, I think the prevailing thought from most people is they don't want to ever see her compete at 141 pounds or lower ever again. They want to see her at 145 pounds. She didn't really give me much in the post-fight interview as to what she wanted to do next. In terms of her fighting these bantamweights for the UFC 135-pound title, it would seem to me, Kenny, that the only way for her to really make this weight, and again, I hate this stuff. I don't advocate for it at all, but would be to not lift weights for 8 or 10 weeks. And I'm not sure she's willing to make that sacrifice because of what it might do to her style and her ability on fight night.